Hey guys, I'm Beck Cranford and I'm a woman who preaches. And I wanted to speak a little bit more about Matthew 13, and I've shared some about it, and it's kind of sandwiched between rejections of Jesus, rejections from some of the religious elite that we see in Matthew 12, and then later in Matthew 13, we see Jesus being rejected by people in his hometown, and that's when he says that a prophet is without honor in his hometown. You know, people are like, "Oh, isn't this Jesus, Mary's kid?" You know, that kind of thing like that. And then we have in the middle of that, we have the parable of the sower, which could be called the parable of the soil or the parable of the seed, which Jesus answers in an allegorical style later and kind of shares like what that message is, and he talks about how he has to speak in parables except for those he's been given, or his disciples who have been able to understand this sod or this esoteric knowledge that he's giving to them about the kingdom of heaven. Hello, Stephen. Would you like to say hi to everybody? Come here, everybody. This is Stephen. Say hi, Stephen. So that's Stephen, my preaching cat assistant. If you don't preach with cats, I get it, you might be a little upset right now, but preaching with cats is also very, very cool. So me and Stephen right here. But one thing I wanted to talk about was like missing God. Like in Matthew, we see several times where Jesus is like, the people are missing God. Earlier in Matthew 11, Jesus is talking to the audience and he said, "You're like children. What should I compare this generation to? You're like children. You want to have a wedding dance. You're calling us out for the wedding dance, and then you turn around and you say that you want to have a funeral dirge, that you want to play the flute and be sad about it." And he's like, "Figure it out. What is it? You're playing a game. You say John comes and John has a demon because John is an ascetic type weirdo coming from the sides, and and I'm coming partying, hanging out with publicans and tax collectors, and you say all this horrible stuff about me. So what is it? You don't want this kind of monastic ascetic type, the prophetic type coming out of the wilderness, and you don't want me who's here to party and have a good time. So what's your deal?" And it is, again, opportunities in missing God. And I think many times we choose to miss God, whether we're aware of it or not, because of different things. One of those can be familiarity. So we miss God because we think somebody could not have the Spirit of God within them, could not be created in the image of God, not have the Holy Ghost within them. So we miss out on that opportunity because of familiarity. So because of familiarity, we tune people out, like some of our relatives. It could be some of our loved ones. And I'm not saying this like this is not for you to use and be like, "I'm going to text my cousin right now and be like, you've been ignoring me and you could be missing God." No, that's not that. That's not what this is. Let's just say we could be missing God. It could be in the least expected places where it often is. Jesus even says to his disciples in Matthew 25, he talks about the little ones, the least of these, those that have been considered least, or the lesser of those in societal standards, how they are Jesus, and how and we also see that kind of carried out when for instance, in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, when the angels who come with, their divine messengers, and how the townspeople there want to objectify and hurt them and utilize them, and they miss out on the divine. So I think the Gospel of Matthew, in many ways, there's like examples of missing the divine, and I wonder how that applies to our life. Tonight, I was in a prayer meeting, and it was really good. It was really powerful. And there were some people from a group home that had intellectual disabilities that were there. And this one lady showed up, and she was just so sweet. And you could feel the compassion and the love and the kindness pouring off of her. And also, I could see that she had been hurt by men. Like you could tell it. And if you know, like for those of us who have been hurt by men, we know. And we know what that's like. And I could tell that, but I also could see this compassion pouring out of her, this sweetness. And she may have had the mentality of like a 6 or 7 year old. I'm not sure. But we asked her to pray for our table, and she prayed, and I felt the Spirit of God, just a sense of peace and just a sense of love. and she looked at my pastor and she's like, I want to go to heaven. And I was like, baby, I was just thinking, I was like, you have heaven inside of you. And so many people can't see it. She had heaven in her, the kingdom of heaven in her. And we miss God so many times. So many times do we miss it. But it was present tonight. And I felt it for just a second. And I think we have to be careful not to miss God. Whatever way God comes. God's going to come in places that we don't expect it. And God may come in familiarity. And God may come in the stranger. And God may come in the widow and the orphan and the prisoner. God may come in the tattooed weirdo, the young gender bender, gender non-binary queer person. God may show up in the intellectually disabled. God may show up in the person who has limited English proficiency. God is showing up, and I pray we can see God. That's my prayer for you tonight. I'm Beck Cranford. I'm a woman who preaches. Talk to you soon.